This video shows how to mount the 3D printable joystick parts. If you haven't seen the overview for the 3D printable design, I recommend to view this first. About this design. Many of the joystick parts are loosely held together without using screws. Once you remove the cover screws, you may lift off the inner parts so it's easy to work on the inside, for example, to install the wiring. The explosion view shows how things belong together. The mounting of the X and Y axis mechanics is described in the adjustment video in detail. Still, there are a few things that may help you to understand how things are intended. The joystick lever is included in the 3D parts, but you may consider not to print it. Perhaps you may use something different instead. I built my stick out of a thread rod covered by a black rubber hose of 7.5 mm diameter, topped with a rubber foot glued onto the hose end. But you may also use the part from the STL list and stiffen it on the inside with a piece of M4 thread rod of 55 mm length. The buttons are just 4 by 4 mm. To be able to solder wires onto the contacts, the buttons are glued onto the part button stand using tiny droplets of super glue. Do not apply too much because though these buttons are waterproof, glue may be sucked inside and damage the button during hardening. The buttons that push the electrical contacts are loose inside the cover. If once all is mounted, the buttons are nicely in place, but applying the cover may appear as a challenge. I recommend to use some sticky tape over cover and buttons from the outside so the buttons do not fall into the mechanics when the cover is mounted. The tape can be peeled off afterwards. The flex cable to the X potentiometers has very limited space for routing. The cable needs quite a loop to be able to move in the Y direction, but the area where it does not disturb is rather small. If you don't take care, the cable may be squeezed in between Y stop and cover bottom. Therefore, follow the way it is routed as in the video. Make sure to use highly flexible wires that stand tens of thousands of movements in operation. The cabling for the Y potentiometers is straightforward, so I think there is no need to explain this in detail. With the electronics, there are different possibilities. If you want to use the joystick for my Bechele project, then I recommend to use the circuit for the Arduino serial joystick located on my website Bechele.de. You then wire the potentiometer combination directly as a replacement for the ordinary potentiometers, because also for the single potentiometer joystick 0 volt and VCC directly connect to the potentiometer. But you may also use the circuit from a different project, for example using a USB Arduino or ESP32S3, where the joystick works as ordinary human interface device. There are plenty of projects available according to your needs.